Thank you again for.
Yeah, go ahead.
I thought you just gave me a technical foul.
No, that's a timeout. So after the 2 minutes are up, we'll.
Cool. That doesn't count against my 10, right?
No.
My name. Okay, thank you, Mike. My name is Vilaska Nguyen. My parents fled Vietnam during the fall of Saigon, and we spent a little bit of time in a refugee camp on Wake Island, but we ultimately immigrated to Anchorage, Alaska, which is where I was born. So my parents actually named me after Alaska and their home country, Vietnam, which is how you get my name, Vilaska. I grew up in the Washington State public school systems, and I ultimately studied American ethnic studies at the University of Washington. And despite my parents' protests, it was probably the best decision of my life. When I graduated, I spent a year working at the Civil Rights Commission, doing community organizing, working in the state legislature, advancing API legislative bills. And when I went to law school at USF, I had the fortune of meeting Jeff Adachi, and the rest is history. I'm going into my 16th year at the San Francisco Public Defender's Office, where I am currently in the serious trial felony rotation. I really do think San Francisco is in a crisis right now. Just over the past 4 to 5 months, we've lost 4 department heads to corruption. We have a pandemic with no end in sight, and we've got protests on the street with people demanding change over decades and decades of systematic racism. I believe City Hall needs bold leadership, particularly to push against the status quo and demand real change. I am a public defender, but I am the right public defender for District 7. I believe over time, District 7 and the families here have been neglected, and that's why our slogan, our campaign motto is putting families first. And this is families from every background, single families, families with no children, big families, extended families. We believe that it is time that City Hall finally take notice and advocate for working class families here in San Francisco. So I believe that I'm the right candidate for supervisor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have any questions for Vilaska? John Mark, you have a question?
Yeah, so this is, especially given your legal background, I guess, if you were currently supervisor, how would you have handled the mayor's unwillingness to follow the law in housing people in hotel rooms, or homeless people in hotel rooms? And then what else did you think you could have done better about her slow rollout of COVID testing and contact tracing?
I think leadership also means just relentlessly trying to collaborate. I will be the first person to say that I've got a lot of policy differences with the mayor, but at no time would that ever affect my ability to reach out and talk. I think when we get to a point where we're having wars in media, in the newspaper, people become entrenched in their positions. I think we all have the same goals of solving a problem that has plagued our city and exacerbated by the pandemic. So I feel everyone can agree that wasting tens and thousands of dollars on hotels where we can immediately use to safely shelter our unhoused, I think there is a groundswell. There was a groundswell of, folks not only in City Hall but in the community that wanted to see that happen. So I feel like leadership is lacking, and I believe leadership often takes a lot of patience and humility, and that's something that I've been doing my entire career as a public defender. I've been held in contempt multiple times, but that doesn't mean I don't work amicably with the judges who just threw me in jail the day before.
Okay, thanks. John Mark, got a follow-up?
Yeah, just a follow-up. I mean, I think part of the issue with the mayor is there's a fundamental imbalance of power between, the branches of government here. And I wanted to know what you thought of the current sort of strong mayor system and if you had any specific ideas for charter reform that you would push to decentralize power and maybe help with the corruption some.
Absolutely. I think everyone should be on board with more accountability and transparency. I'm the only candidate in District 7 that was supportive of Supervisor Marr's public advocate. And it's unfortunate that didn't pass, because if this isn't the time we need that type of commission or department, I don't know what is. I am also a supporter of Supervisor Haney's ballot measure to break up the Department of Public Works. We're the only city that doesn't have a separate sanitation department. And it is so frustrating that we've come to a point in our city's life where we have to have the inside connections and rely on nepotism to have something cleaned up on the corner of the street. So I'm all for accountability, transparency, and breaking up that power so that people don't feel helpless.
Okay, thanks. A quick question for you. Seems like a lot of the movement on the Board of Supervisors has been to kick the can up the hill to Sacramento when it comes to issues like the public bank and others too, to abnegate responsibility for problems that we have locally. How would you as supervisor express our rights as a charter city? And if you can give us any sort of inkling as to what legislative impact you would have in doing so, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, so I'm really proud to be endorsed by people on the board that I really share the same values with, like Dean Preston, Hillary Ronan, Matt Haney, and even Chase Abudin, Mano Raju. These are some folks that I feel have a real strong commitment to changing systematic racism and a broken system, not only confined within our criminal justice system. I had the fortune of being empowered by Jeff Adachi the past 8 years to work on the state and even the local level, trying so many serious cases. The most devastating case that I actually tried was a case where I had a client sentenced to 14 years in state prison for having a small amount of drugs on him. So I spent nearly 2 years working directly with the ACLU, the Drug Policy Alliance, and Senator Holly Mitchell in repealing this particular unjust sentencing enhancement. So I know my proximity has been criminal justice, but that has not hampered me or restricted me in any way to try to change the system outside of my individual cases that I represented at the Hall of Justice. So I think taking my own experience and leadership, I wouldn't be afraid to do the right thing. And sometimes the right thing is hard, meaning not kicking the can, up the hill. I'm ready to do what it takes to work with whoever I can across the aisle in terms of changing the status quo.
Okay, thanks. Barry has a question for you.
So I'd love to hear you comment on Senator Wiener's package of housing legislation. And, it's well, I can tell you how I feel about it, but I'd love to hear your take on it and how it would reshape California.
So I feel one of the challenges is not bringing all stakeholders to the table in terms of having real community-based housing. I think one of the underutilized tools that we've abandoned is municipally owned social housing. I'm a proud supporter of Supervisor Preston's social housing measure, and I would like to see my fellow colleagues, if I do have the opportunity to be on the board, to begin working on a long-term 25, 50-year plan where the city can meaningfully purchase land, use the existing land that we have to buy social housing that really is affordable for working class families here in the city.
Good, thank you.
Okay, Thanks very much, and appreciate you taking the opportunity to join us this evening.
I had a question too.
Oh, Rich, you have a quick question? We have.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Yes. In light of the most recent developments of Trump just threatening to send federal troops to Oakland, knowing that that we might you possibly be next. I was just wondering how you would choose to deal with it, with your fellow supervisors and the mayor, and also especially with your previous, or Jaunt as your public defender. So
a badge doesn't give an individual free reign to break the law. And I think the biggest power of a supervisor is creating policy and legislation that protects our city. I think we've gotten a long way to go in terms of reforming our own police department. So in terms of holding our own police officers accountable, we can't do that if we don't have a strong police commission. I'm proud to be the only candidate that actually objected to the mayor's appointment of Nancy Tung to be on the police commission. And this was a district attorney that I litigated trials against. And she went on record saying that the police officers that killed Mario Woods, Jessica Taylor, should not have been prosecuted or lost their jobs. So in terms of police accountability, we've got a lot to do here in San Francisco, but in terms of fighting against these outside law enforcement agencies coming into the city, we have a lot of safeguards to ensure that if someone's breaking the law in our city, they can be held accountable in terms of being arrested, prosecuted, and also suing the federal government.
Okay. Thanks for that response. And we do appreciate you taking the time out to join us this evening. And good luck with you.
Absolutely.
Good luck with your candidacy.
Thank you.
And thank you for standing up.
Work on the public defender's office.
Thank you. And sorry if I feel so tired. I feel like I lost my voice about an hour and a half
We all
ago.
understand.
Okay.
Thank
Have a
you
good
very
evening.
much. Take care, guys. Bye.
take care.